I made the mistake of asking the comment section for builds. To my surprise, I found quite a few that were excellent, in fact. So excellent, they were just... There's no way this works, right? Unbelievably stupid. Today I will play 5 builds for Titans, Hunters, and Warlocks suggested from the comments of the last video. I will rate your builds offense, defense, versatility, survivability, speed, and consistency, and then give them a grade for flavor and viability, as those two tend to be at odds with one another. The great thing about making builds right now is that the community has had some time to figure out some interesting and unique combos, so expect more powerful and niche combos than you might have seen before. To start ourselves off, we are playing a build that spreads toxicity better than r/Destiny Circle Jerk from JRJ3 using the Celestial Fire Necrotic Grips combo with Thorn and a Glaive. As always, the rules are that I will make sure to equip as much as I can to benefit the build, despite the build creator possibly neglecting to mention it themselves. This includes mods, fragments, and anything that I think might be best with my master's degree in off-metaology. When I first saw this build, I knew that this person was a true Anakin Skywalker of Destiny 2 because good lord was I cutting down younglings with this. Not only is this build effective at making people evaporate like my friends when I asked them to help me get the Gambit Pinnacles, but the synergy this build has is palpable. Not only does Thorn plus Necrotic mean that we get a free bonus to the horrendously difficult to acquire Airborne Effectiveness stat, but I also get to teach the enemy team a free lesson at the good old rule of don't bunch up, poisoning any unfortunate slob who happened near my Thorn, converting their respawn screen into super energy. But as for the melee itself, we also get to double damage over time anyone we fling our spiraling ball of Tabasco at from the Celestial Fire's burn, plus the Necrotic Grip's poison. But the cynics among you are looking at this and scoffing, saying how this build is nothing new, right? We've had Necrotic Grips and Thorn before, right? Well, recently, through a bit of bribery at Bungie, Glaives finally work with some of our melee exotics. So now our Glaive applies the damage over time effect from Necrotic Grips, but the real beauty of this, even ignoring that, is when you Glaive shot into a Thorn headshot for a clean, oh my god, setting up our next kill with the Soul Devourer for a delayed 2-tap headshot. If I had to suggest criticism besides motivating Bungie to freaking fix melee registration, it would be that the Solar subclass probably could be replaced with maybe like Stormcaller for a better effect, and we lacked a bit of range, but not that I'm really complaining. Offense 8, defense 7, versatility 5, survivability 7, speed 7, consistency 8, flavor, we're starting it out with the S tier on flavor, and viability A. Obviously, like I said, you lack a bit of range, but that's made up for how just effective you are within mid to close range spaces. Pretty high bar set for the rest of the build today, but next up, I have a Titan build that might just have solved Arc 3.0 for every W key Titan main out there. From Duels 152, this build uses the feedback fence for Arc 3.0 with the Thunderclap melee. Now, I'll be completely transparent with you. I only initially picked this because I haven't tried the feedback fence for Arc 3.0 Titans that didn't also use a Glaive. And for the most part, it was about as inconsistent as most melee builds tend to be. But the real diamond in the rough for this is a guaranteed setup from a 120 hand cannon plus a quick charge thunderclap melee. In essence, you can follow any close range headshot from these higher damage weapons like the DMT or a 120 hand cannon immediately into a quick charge thunderclap for a guaranteed kill. I was fortunate enough to have an AFK to test this initially, and yeah, it absolutely works. But it requires a headshot from a precision-based weapon in closer ranges, which can be a bit tricky, especially when you're trying to shoot a jumping and sliding around target like they're covered in Bungie brand baby oil. And the truth be told, I had a rapid-fire shotgun to fill my swashbuckler perk requirement from the build creator, and it just wasn't cutting it. These things are bad. These things need a buff. But as I was looking for another swashbuckler weapon, something caught my eye. The Drang. Because I wasn't given an explicit requirement for 120 hand cannon or 120 weapon I was supposed to use, I decided to pair the notorious sidearm with its not quite as Chad older brother, the Sturm, and oh good lord, the combo works on one-shot body shots. With an overcharged Sturm shot, I can guarantee a kill on even the max resilience Guardian from a Sturm overcharge plus a Thunderclap follow-up combo. So you know what? Screw the ACD 0 feedbacks. Just, if you want to run this build, frickin' run it with Insurmountable Skull Fort and make the Crucible suffer. Offense 8, defense 6, versatility 6, survivability 8, speed 5, consistency 7, flavor A+, viability A+. There's a bit of rough edges on this, but if you can get this down to be where I was able to experiment with this, you've got an amazing build on your hands. Now, normally, this is the part in the video where I pull out the not so great builds to sort of bring everyone back down from the hype train. But as it turns out, a build I thought was going to be just awful ended up actually becoming one of my newfound favorites. From Coyote 31, we're going to be using an Arc Hunter with bombardiers and blinding grenades and the new Out of Bounds SMG. I am all for using weird and probably stupid exotics, but fewer fit the bill of Twitter reply chain levels of stupid than the bombardiers. An exotic most would call the same thing that they call my social and dating life: a disappointment. But with the Arc 3.0 fragments granting us a better ability to support the Bombardier's Arc flavored bomb dodge, i.e. blinding effects, is it worth giving them another look? Get him. Nice. Not even an exotic weapon in this build, just an Out of Bounds with perpetual motion and golden tricone, out here just living its best life. I probably got the absolute best map to abuse people with this build, but even then, this was a surprise to say the least. Honestly, the weakest part of this build was probably the grenade launcher, and due to this build's lacking an exotic, maybe try giving it Wither Horde for slightly better defense and more consistency. I meant to run this with Blink, but frankly got busy and forgot, and it might have been better that way, honestly. I'm able to keep my weapons up, and I won't lose them to the Blink's handling penalty. So, regardless of all that, offense 8, defense 7, versatility 4, survivability 5, speed 7, consistency 6, flavor A, viability A-. You can see that this build is just below the other two, and that's purely because I think it still has a few rough edges to work out. Alright, how about now we remind everyone that the comment section is often a collection of keyboard typing monkeys throwing out builds together like the Destiny PSA channels throw out vague and often confusing titles and thumbnails. This build is another Arc 3.0 Hunter build, using Blink, Skip Grenades, Shinobu's Vow, and the Dead Messenger. The promise of a build not needing to aim is often a cruel seductress, because a build that achieves that level of quantity and damage over quality and damage is almost impossible in Destiny's high emphasis on movement and generous hitboxes for crits. But they do exist. I happen to play a couple of them. Did this build reach that etheric standard of power and stupidity? No, absolutely not. Listen, I have tried to get the Dead Messenger to work. I have run multiple builds with it, but I just can't get the thing to operate in the same way everyone keeps telling me it operates. Today's build ran the Shinobu's Bow plus the aforementioned Dead meme. We ran this with Blink and a quick swapping hand cannon. I feel like I've seen this build before. The idea here is to throw out your Napalm Strike with the Dead Messenger before quickly swapping into your hand cannon for cleanup. Use your grenade to chase or apply pressure to targets who may be at longer ranges or behind cover. Yeah, I've definitely seen this build somewhere. I tried this build a few times and never got anywhere with it. I am sorry, Dead Messenger stands, but this one is just going to have to go on your permanent record. Offense 5, defense 6, versatility 4, survivability 5, speed 5, consistency 3, flavor B+, viability C-. I really want to like this thing. It's certainly unique, it's certainly interesting, and a lot of people seem to like it. I just can't get into it. Maybe there'll be a build one day that'll change my mind. This last build makes use of an exotic I haven't seen in quite some time, an exotic that I was hoping would make a roaring comeback with Arc 3.0, but after trying it again, it's more like a whimpering cower back into its hole. From G2 Machine, this build uses Arc Warlock plus Symmetry and the Stag. On paper, this should be a great defensive build. In practice, the Stag was nerfed pretty damn hard, and Symmetry has been basically power crept out of usability by pulses and 150 scouts. Listen, I'm not the best defensive player. I prefer to see the hope extinguish in my target's eyes when they are given their one-way ticket back to the spawn point. But even still, I know a stinky build when I smell one, and this one, while it wasn't bad per se, it definitely smelled like it stepped in something on the way over. Frankly, this build has a lot to overcome. Extremely off meta and probably forgotten about exotics, double primary, and a scout rifle to boot on top of all that. I will say that when the build was in its sweet spot, it was almost certainly at least a kill or two before getting dragged by my antler back to the respawn screen by my ghost. And I know I've been quite harsh on this, but if you like the rapid fire scouts, I legitimately encourage you to give this a shot for yourself. Besides, it's always fun melee wiping an entire enemy team, even if it runs a bit contrary to the build's overall theme. Offense 4, defense 7, versatility 6, survivability 7, speed 4, consistency 5, flavor B, viability B+. Subscribe, like, and leave a comment of your build down below if you'd like me to try something out. Stupid builds have the best chance of getting a feature. Surprise me. Bless your faces, and deuces.